All right, all right. Hello, good people. How are you today? Happy Monday. Today is the 16th, and we are 16 days in strong on our literacy reset. I'm super, super excited. As you can see from the thumbnail here, we are talking about the most infamous Steve Jobs. People thought that it was just about coding and tech, but it was not. And so I can't wait to jump into this discussion with you guys here. So let's get into it. Steve Jobs didn't just build products, he built ecosystems: hardware, software, design, retail, marketing, all connected, all intentional. Welcome back to the Literacy Reset, 30 Days of Raising Architects. Today, we reset systems thinking because literacy is not just reading words, it is understanding how parts connect to form the whole. All right. All right. So let me just make sure everything is still visible for you guys. Steve Jobs co founded Apple in a garage at 21. He was not an engineer in the traditional sense, but he was deeply curious. He studied calligraphy in college after dropping out. Why does that matter? Because years later, the Macintosh computer included beautiful typography, serif fonts, spacing, design elegance. That attention to detail was not random. It was cross disciplinary thinking. Jobs read wisely. He did technology, design, philosophy, business, spirituality. He understood something powerful. Innovation happens at the intersection of fields. When Apple developed the iPod, it wasn't just a music player, it was an integrated device: software, music store, user experience. When the iPhone launched, it replaced the phone, camera, GPS, music player, internet browser. He wasn't building just gadgets, he was building systems. Now, systems thinking requires literacy. I'm going to say that again. Systems thinking requires literacy. Why? Because you must process complex information. You got to see patterns across domains, synthesize ideas, and be able to communicate clearly. Don't leave that part out. Communicate clearly. For Steve, our principle is that clarity creates cohesion. Jobs was famous for saying focus. He simplified relentlessly, removed unnecessary features, streamlined messaging, and reduced visual clutter. But that simplicity required deep understanding. You cannot simplify what you do not comprehend. Okay? Okay. Literacy builds the cognitive stamina to understand complexity, distill essentials, and communicate clearly. System thinkers are forced to ask, how do these elements interact? Where is friction? What can be removed? What must remain? Children trained in literacy learn to summarize accurately, compare perspectives, and integrate multiple sources. That is the foundation of systems thinking. I always will tell people to lean in on project based learning because project based learning It's taking them on a journey through systems. It's taking them on a journey through different content elements. And the requirements are always, how can I put it? I don't want to say the word complex, but they're always interdisciplinary, right? So we're looking at vocabulary, we're looking at speech, we're looking at presentation, we're looking at the written information, right? The essay, the formal research. We're looking at what's built, how it's built, the why it was built. Some of that crosses into science and looking at historical references. It depends on what the project is about. But project-based learning is one of the best when it comes to looking at systems and systems thinking, because now I'm putting in all these pieces and I'm building something great from here. When Steve Jobs was sitting there thinking about this iPhone and the iPad and iPod and all these different things, he wanted to make sure we had, well, I'm not an Apple user, but I am an Apple user because I love my Apple laptop. Side note. He wanted to make sure that people had access to all of the things. Let's make sure the calendar is there. Let's make sure you have internet. Let's make sure you can get into music. Let's make sure you can do web-based planning. There were so many different little elements here. With video and Apple TV that comes in later, the dictionary that's on here. There's so many different elements. And why? Because he wanted to make sure you had an experience. And so when we're creating project-based learning for our students or for our children, then what? We are creating an experience. We are creating a journey, a pathway. We're architecting that. I don't want that to slide past anybody. So, how do we now utilize this as homeschool families or people who have learning programs and literacy, right? Because I feel like it's all inclusive. That's just my opinion about the situation, but here I digress. I digress. The first thing that you have to do is teach synthesis explicitly. After reading multiple sources on a topic, have the questions ready. The questions you need to ask is, what do they agree on? Where do they differ? What conclusion can you now state and draw out from this? Synthesis builds integration skills. Next, practice simplification. Have your child explain a complex topic in one paragraph, then one sentence, then 5 words. Clarity sharpens thinking. We would not have all of the elements in these Mac notebooks, Mac phones, and all of the like if things were not simple. Because remember, he's part of the face of the brand. But when you are now running a company, everybody has to know what part they play and where they add value, what they're building out. And so if I need that calendar to work, the people who are working on that need to know exactly what to include, right? If it's major holidays, if you're checking to make sure it's a leap year or not. I'm just giving out simple things, but these are things to point it out. Next, encourage cross-disciplinary connections. Study history, connected to economics, to geography, to literature, studying science, connected to ethics, to innovation, to real-world application. Oh, what's the matter, lady? You guys give me 1 second. My co-host wants to be seen. Hold on. All right. See, real moms in real time and real action. So let me continue. You want to say hi? It's like, um, I'll do it over. Encourage cross-disciplinary connections. Studying history connected to economics, to geography, to literature. Studying science connected to ethics, to innovation, to real-world application. Innovation lives at those intersections. And last but not least, assign design thinking projects. Have your child identify a problem at home, propose a solution, outline steps, evaluate the outcomes. System thinking grows through iteration. Do not hold back. I mean, obviously, I'm going to say create things and based off of topics that are comprehensible for the age. However, a lot of things can be simplified. I actually watched another educator. They were learning about their community. And I think they're even here on YouTube. I don't know if it was YouTube or Instagram. Anyway, they built a whole community after learning about the different, you know, places in the community, whether it's small bakery shops, the market, the fire department, the hospital, the library, blah, blah, blah. And then after they learned the places and the people who worked in them and why they were important to the neighborhood, they were able to go out and build it. And so I believe they went on nature walks and stuff. They utilized tools that they had inside the classroom and built a whole miniature city. And I loved it. I loved watching it. And so kudos to that educator for shifting gears and bringing that experience to those children, because now they understood why things mattered and what role they played in the actual community, and then was able to visit some of those places. And so awesome, awesome, awesome opportunity to learn, right? What I would say is to help shift into this project-based thinking is to remember this key thing. You are not raising task completers. You are raising integrators. And so Steve Jobs once said, creativity is just connecting things. Connection requires exposure. Exposure requires literacy. When your child reads broadly, writes thoughtfully, and analyzes deeply, they develop the ability to see relationships, predict outcomes, design solutions. That is systems thinking, and that begins with literacy. Somebody's ready for a nap. If today revealed that your homeschool teaches subjects in isolation, that awareness is game changing. Inside the R4S Homeschool Clarity Roadmap, we guide families through teaching synthesis across disciplines, building structured writing for clarity, designing project-based learning intentionally, and raising integrative thinkers. So your child doesn't just learn information, they design solutions. They get to see all the connecting parts. They get to design all the connecting parts. Those type of things can't be bought. And those type of things are not always sitting in an online program, which is why I always say, regardless of curriculum, you are the architect for your child's learning. You are the architect designing their literacy journey. This is the Literacy Reset. And today we reset systems thinking. Before we close out, of course, I would love to invite you into our homeschool community that is on the school platform. It is a literacy centered strategy lab where intentional parents become education architects. It's where we come together and design different learning opportunities for your child that fits your child. The incoming price right now is $5 per member. And that's because I'm doing something for our founding members. And that's up till we get to 100. And so I'm excited. I'm super excited. I think that having this ability to design meaningful learning pathways for children at your fingertips is one of the most blessing things you can have, right? It's one of the most conscious decisions you can make, and one that will surpass anything that any other place could offer, right? Because this is you building based on your child. Bless you. And that's not to take away from any other program. I run a program, so I understand all of that too. But it allows for us to be creative and innovative for our children and focus on what they like. Now, I have done the whole thing. I'm going to leave you guys with our last little commercial talking about our different programs. But I will see you in episode 17. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day. Ask me, what exactly do you do at Reading for Smiles? Let me show you. Our mission at Reading for Smiles is very simple. We help families raise confident readers, writers, and thinkers. We also produce a YouTube series called Literacy Reset, where we explore powerful literacy lessons through the lives of great thinkers, innovators, and leaders. We have a community called the R4S Homeschool Studio, where homeschool parents come together to learn, plan, and support each other. For parents inside the community, you guys can learn through 2 courses: the Architect Parent, which helps you design homeschool with intention, and the Confident Reader and Writer course, which is a framework for building strong literacy at home. We also offer a homeschool roadmap intensive, where we help parents plan their homeschool year with clarity. And for the babies, of course, we create literacy learning packs, have on-demand courses, and I also have ebooks for parents to help them strengthen their homeschools by developing reading, writing, and thinking skills and programs and projects in the house. If you're homeschooling and you want support raising strong readers and thinkers, then definitely come join our community on School. We can't wait to see you and have you there with us.